What's going on, guys? Today I want to go over some stuff about how to hold a dugout tidli properly, the proper way to strike, the proper technique. So let's start out with a tidli. The first thing that I always tell my students is you want to strike with the smooth part inside, and as far as placement in the hand, it's just preference. Some people like to hold it at the top. Some people like to hold it further down in the middle. I'm a little bit in between the middle and the top. But starting out with my thumb and my pointer finger, I'll kind of hold it like a pencil. Again, this varies from person to person. Some people like to hold it like this, but I'll take it from the actual tip of the pointer finger and the thumb and kind of grip it like a pencil. Moving to the middle finger, this is more so kind of for, I guess, support, you can say. This doesn't have much of a strike when actually playing. Moving on to the next finger down, this is a finger that you're going to primarily use for striking. When you strike, there are two different motions that you're supposed to use. One is actually in the finger and the other one's in the wrist. When you start increasing your speed and playing all these rolls and thirikets, it becomes a double motion at that point. Again, that's something that you're going to have to build up to. It doesn't come right off the get-go, but something that I always tell my students is you want to focus on keeping your hands still and using primarily that third finger, right? So you wanna keep your hands still as much as possible and focus on building that muscle and that finger and that muscle memory. That being said, I always tell my students where you want to place your finger when actually striking on that third finger. Some people like to come down here, right? Some people like to actually hold it at the very end. I prefer to hold it right here and just skim it. You know, you don't want to put too much effort into it. You don't want to put too much force. You don't want to create a slapping motion at that point, right? You want to just keep a clean strike, right? So that's primarily how I hold my tidli. Going on to the dugout, I've seen people hold it like this. I hold it like this. You know, I just have one finger actually holding it in. These two fingers are pretty relaxed, and then you have your pointer finger and your thumb right here, and they just kind of hold it almost like the tidli on the other side, right? You want to keep it loose. You don't want to keep your arms locked. You don't want to keep your forearms locked. It's gonna cause you to tense up. You want to keep both hands actually as loose as possible. That being said, when you keep it loose here, it kind of keeps this motion back and forth. It keeps it nice and loose. It keeps it easier for you. Moving on to the strike, the example I give my students is the doorknob example. For instance, if you're holding a doorknob, you want to use this motion for the strike. Commonly, I see amongst a lot of brand new Dhol players, they like to use this motion, this jerky motion, or they like to use their whole arm. That's wrong. You want to try to keep it in the wrist and this turning motion right here. All right, so that's something that you want to focus on. Once you get those fundamentals down, then you can start moving on to the beats. Very good practice for actually working on your technique and the grip is playing na ge ge na ge ge na ge ge na. That's something that you can use for speed, volume, technique, and it's a very good exercise for even just warming up. And I'll demonstrate that right now. Alright guys, now we're going to work on the strike and actually where the placement of the tidli hits on the actual head. Starting with the tidli side, the treble, we're going to go ahead and show you where you're supposed to strike. Typically when you want to strike, you want to use this much of the surface area of the tidli. Again, it varies situation to situation. If you're trying to generate volume, obviously the more surface area that you use, the greater the volume is going to be. You want to focus on hitting on the rim. You want to focus on a nice clean strike where the Dhol actually gives you a nice ring. A lot of people when they play, the misconception is, Dhol is supposed to be a loud instrument, it's supposed to be a bunch of ruckus, and they want to hit it in the middle and kind of create this slapping motion. You don't want to do that. You want to keep a nice clean ring. Again, I'm using a greater portion of the tidli. Alright? You can tell I'm striking right on the edge. the daga side. For this one, again, you want to strike as much as possible in the middle. Try to keep that motion of the doorknob. For this, you want to kind of focus on using this portion of the daga. All right? All right, now when you're playing closed, the misconception is that you want to try to use this portion of the daga to actually play closed as well. A lot of people hit like this. It's wrong. You want to actually use the tip. Now you got to be careful. You can't angle it too much where you're going to actually puncture the head of the drum, right? So you just want to give it enough angle just to give you that closed sound. So again, you want to use this much and create that closed sound. All varies person to person. You know, you got to find your comfort zone. You got to find what works for you. So whatever I'm saying, you kind of have to take it with a grain of salt. You know, this is the way I found that works for me, and this is what my stylist taught me. And you know, it works for my students. So you know, you can try it out. If it doesn't work for you, then try a different type of grips.